The New York Rangers made two massive moves Friday, trading away captain Jacob Trouba and his $8 million cap hit, as well as signing Igor Shesterkin, the goaltender, to a historic goalie contract, making him the highest paid goaltender of all time with an $11.5 million cap hit over 8 seasons. So the Rangers made two massive moves there, trading away their captain and signing their goaltender to a historic goalie contract. Earlier on, we also saw Alexis Lafreniere sign his extension as well. So in today's video, we're going to kind of talk about what the New York Rangers kind of cap space situation is going forward for the rest of this season, as well as going forward into the future and, for this upcoming offseason, for example, as well, and kind of what cap space the Rangers are going to have going forward, because some fans are really worried about what this cap space situation is looking like after, signing Igor and Lafreniere to their pretty big contract extensions. I know most people are pretty happy with the Lafreniere deal, but a lot of fans are not happy with the Shesterkin contract being, $11.5 million. So in today's video, I'm going to kind of break it down for all you out there, the numbers and stuff like that, and we're really kind of dive into them because it may not be nearly as bad as some of you Rangers fans may think. So let's really kind of take a look at the numbers here in today's video and kind of break down this cap space situation for the New York Rangers going forward into the future. So first off here, we'll take a look at what the cap space situation is looking like for the New York Rangers for the rest of this season. Then we'll take a look at kind of the future and, this upcoming off season's kind of cap space situation as well. So for right now, the New York Rangers do have a total of $7.38 million, about that, in cap space available to make trades, right this second. But the good thing is over, the middle of the season there, during games like that, the Rangers will be able to accrue cap space. So this number is going to go up, and it's going to go up quite a bit as well. So that is something big there. The Rangers do have 14 forwards and 7 defensemen on the roster. So, 2 extra forwards, 1 extra defenseman, and that is the, $7.38 million cap hit there. So the Rangers have a full roster pretty much there and have that, $7.38 million to spend, which is not too bad at all. Now, the big thing is the projected number for around the trade deadline for the Rangers cap space wise is a pretty massive number. It is projected right now to be somewhere around $24.352 million in cap space available to go out there and make some moves around the trade deadline, which is a pretty massive number there. So assuming the Rangers don't, add on a bunch of cap space right now, their projected number is expected to be, around that kind of 24 mil mark, which would allow this team to make some pretty big moves. Obviously, we know this Rangers team has not been playing the best hockey as of late. Now, in the last few games there, they're looking a little better, especially that game there against the Penguins, but this is a team where I think, this squad obviously is a few pieces away from truly being able to compete for a Stanley Cup. But trading away Jacob Trouba there, opening up that massive amount of cap space, and also now having that, amount of cap space right now to be open so that we can accrue a ton of cap space for the deadline, I think is going to be a massive thing. Now, are we going to end up, adding in about $24 million in cap space, around the deadline there to really kind of eat up all that money? I doubt it. I can't imagine we'd be making that many moves there, but this goes to show that this New York Rangers team, for this season specifically, is not in a bad spot cap space-wise at all. They're actually in a very good one, and they're going to have the room to go out there and make those massive moves. The big question mark is Chris Drury going to actually get that done and make those big moves there, go and trade for a defenseman or two, go and trade for a forward or something like that to go out there and really bolster this core and possibly go out there and look to truly add in a star or superstar level kind of guy, because we definitely will have the cap space available. The main problem is obviously trying to find that trade partner, who is actually available, who is a kind of superstar or true kind of star level kind of player, a true kind of top line or top 6 caliber forward, or a true kind of top pairing or top 4 caliber defenseman, which of those type of players are truly available for a trade and, the Rangers are actually interested in going for. That's kind of the question mark there, but obviously, there have been a little kind of buzz and kind of talk amongst Rangers fans specifically about Brady Tkachuk over the last little while here. So maybe something gets done there. I highly doubt it. I feel like, Brady Tkachuk is a core piece going forward for the Ottawa Senators, but, I've definitely been wrong before. So maybe that'll happen there. I would love to see a trade happen for Brady Tkachuk, obviously. I doubt it, like I said, but it's possible. You never know. And he would be a tremendous add for this team, adding that physicality and stuff like that. So we're going to have the cap space available to make those superstar, possible moves. But is Chris actually going to get the job done there and pull the trigger and bring in that star or superstar caliber player? That is the ultimate question for this team. But we are in a good cap space situation going forward for the rest of this season after trading away captain and Jacob Trouba, who is and has been for a long time now a pretty big liability on this New York Rangers team. So personally, I made a video the other day kind of talking about it. I am very happy with this Jacob Trouba trade here. I think it was a really great decision there by Chris Drury, and to be able to get off that contract for nothing, not having to give up any assets, whether it was going to be prospects or picks alongside Trouba to get off the contract, don't have to retain any money. So, we are not retaining a single dollar on that contract. We also get back a depth defenseman and a 4th round pick. I think that was just amazing GM work there by Chris Drury. So I really am thrilled with that move. And before we dive into the actual numbers for this upcoming offseason and what the cap space looking like for the New York Rangers, I wanted to quickly talk about that Igor Shesterkin contract. I know a lot of Rangers fans don't love the $11.5 million given it to a goalie, and I get that. I don't love the contract either, but I also don't hate it. And the fact is, Igor Shesterkin, I would say, has been the by far best goaltender in the entire NHL throughout the last 3 playoffs. I think he's been that good. I think he's by far the best, and he's proven to be that over the last 3 playoffs there. He's been by far our most valuable player. If we didn't have Igor or a goalie as good as he was, we would not have made 2 of the last 3 Eastern Conference Finals. I think that's just a fact there. He has been phenomenal. Now, yes, has he been that, Vezina caliber guy every single regular season? No, he only has really one elite, truly elite kind of regular season so far over his NHL career, but he's been solid in the other ones. He's been above average and good in most, for the most part there, in the regular season. But come playoff time, he is season in and season out proven to be an elite playoff performer, unlike certain guys on this team like, Panarin, obviously, Zibanejad, and some other players as well on this team who seem to kind of shy away a bit come playoff time when the lights shine brightest. Igor is the complete opposite there. He shines brightest in the brightest moments in the playoffs. So I am kind of happy that he did get that massive extension, although $11.5 million is definitely more than I kind of wanted to see. But this seems like kind of probably is about what he would get in the open market, probably even more as well. If he hit free agency, he could probably get even more. I wouldn't be shocked. So I think overall, this contract may not look like the best right now to some Rangers fans, but with the cap going up as much as we're going to talk about in a second here, this might not look too bad in the very near future and going forward into the long-term future as well. So really kind of diving into the actual numbers here and how much this cap could possibly go up. The normal maximum from season to season is about 5% the cap can go up there, but it was reported about a month ago or so now that from Elliot Friedman that the cap could actually go up instead of the maximum 5% there. It could go up anywhere from 8% to 10.2%, meaning this cap could end up looking like for the 2025-2026 season anywhere from about $95 million to about $97 million. Now, that is a pretty massive jump up from the current $88 million cap. We could see a cap rise from around, it seems like $7 to about $9 million. That would be a massive jump up and definitely would have a pretty big impact on the New York Rangers cap space available to go out there and use to spend and on free agency, in trades, or possibly just re-sign our guys as well. And kind of projecting these numbers off of the kind of low end here of the cap going up, so around that kind of 8% mark there to be about $95 million from the $88 million that it is right now. The Rangers are going to have about $23.6 million to spend in free agency, and that's on the low end there as well. So if it goes up the kind of only about 8% there to $95 million instead of the 10.2% there to $97, the Rangers will have about 23.6, but if it goes up on the high end there, we could have upwards of 25.6. So we're looking at anywhere from around, it seems like kind of 23.6 million, about that, to around 25.6 million for this upcoming offseason to spend in free agency via trade or re-sign our players. That is a lot of money there. And those numbers are based off of adding on the Igor Shesterkin and Alexi Lafreniere contract extensions. So those are accounted for in that, $23.6 to $25.6 million to spend. And I do want to take a look at all the expiring contracts as well for this upcoming offseason and kind of talk about which guys we could possibly end up re-signing, which obviously would eat into that, about 23 to $25.6 million in cap space available. So first off here for the forwards, the UFAs, unrestricted free agents, we have two players. Jimmy Vesey, who is right now on an $800K contract. Maybe he comes back on something similar next season. It's not going to be a ton there. So if he comes back, he's not going to eat into too much of that. The other UFA is Riley Smith. My guess is he just ends up kind of walking away in free agency this upcoming offseason, which would not be the biggest loss in the world. We definitely have other guys who could possibly kind of help fill that spot there in a kind of middle six and a winger role. So that's not too big of a deal there. Now for the RFAs, we have Kaapo Kakko, who was so far this season had a really good one, I would say. I think he's played really good. He's obviously not looked like that second overall pick kind of player, but he still played some really great hockey, and he is an RFA with arbitration eligibility. My guess is he probably ends up signing another fairly short-term contract at, maybe a bit of a raise there, maybe around $3 million, but I don't think he's going to get anything too much, crazy higher than that. So maybe we're looking at, 3.25, 3.5 at the very most on a kind of 1 or 2 year contract for another kind of proof of deal possibly for him there to kind of show this once again to end up signing a pretty decent sized deal possibly later on. So I don't think he'll get too much of a raise there, although I do definitely want to see him come back unless he is traded away in a deal for a star or superstar level kind of player in some kind of package. For the other RFAs, though, Adam Edstrom, he's making $846K this season, a normal RFA. He's not going to get too much of a raise, although it will be probably a tiny bit there, but nothing too much more than that. Then for Will Cooley, I think kind of like Kakko there, he's going to get somewhat of a kind of short-term prove-it deal there to kind of show that he can do this kind of season once again because he's having a great one. One of our top point producers there, very physical, tough player, great defensively, phenomenal young talent, but obviously needs to kind of prove it once again. So I think he'll sign a fairly short-term, pretty cheap deal again, so he's not going to eat into too much of the cap, although I definitely expect him to be back and definitely should be. Now for the defensemen, though, we have two UFAs and two RFAs. The UFAs being Ryan Lindgren, who's making $4.5 million right now. My guess is that he will walk away in free agency, so we're not going to have to re-sign him, and we'll look to kind of replace him with some other players around the league, which I definitely am more than okay with. Then we have here Urho Vakanainen, the player that we got in the Jacob Trouba trade that just happened on Friday. He's making $1.1 million there, 25 years old as of right now. Kind of more of a bottom pairing, kind of depth defenseman caliber of player. He's a UFA making $1.1 million right now, like I said. So I don't necessarily see him coming back. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't end up getting signed for like a number 7, number 8 defenseman kind of role there. But if he does come back, it'll be on pretty much a league minimum deal, I would imagine. And then for the RFAs there, you have Keandre Miller, who is an RFA with arbitration eligibility. He's making $3.872 million right now, and will probably make around that next season and in the future. So I would not be against trading him away at all, especially if he does have a decent bit of trade value left and some other teams are interested. So maybe he's a trade candidate. And then the other RFA is Zach Jones, who I would not be against seeing him come back, but he is, a guy who's approaching his mid-20s now. It has been in kind of a bottom pairing role for us. I would probably rather see a different kind of type of defenseman in that kind of third pairing role there, maybe more of a veteran experienced guy who's big, tough, more kind of physically and defensively reliable. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there, but he is an RFA, still fairly young, probably has a bit of value, so maybe we do see him traded away or possibly brought back on a somewhat cheap deal, I would imagine. And the last kind of expiring contract is Jonathan Quick, the backup goaltender. As of right now, we don't know what's kind of happening with him. Does he look to retire possibly, or does he look to keep playing? We'll have to wait and see. He is 38 years old right now. He's getting up there in age, but I would not be against bringing him back on another 1 year contract, as he has proven to be still a pretty good, honestly very good at moments, backup goaltender. So I think he's been pretty great, and definitely would not be against seeing him come back, which would probably end up being once again on a pretty cheap contract. So that would not affect things too much there. I think in general, there are a lot of guys who definitely we could see re-sign, but also a lot of guys who will probably walk away. We should be able to see quite a few new faces for next season in the 2025-2026 season, which I definitely do think would be a good thing here for this team to see a big shakeup here, get some new faces in, some new kind of players, different types of players as well, some more kind of tougher, bigger, physical kind of guys, some good, reliable defensive defensemen back there who can move the puck a bit, play physical, would definitely be a pretty good thing for this team. And we definitely are going to have the cap space available to go out there and make some big, big moves. But the question is, can Chris Drury, actually find those star or superstar caliber guys who are available via trade? That's the big question. Anyways, I want to want to thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed this kind of talk about the New York Rangers kind of cap space situation going forward, definitely comment down below your thoughts on it. Are you happy about having about $23.6 to $25.6 million to spend? Let me know your thoughts. I'll catch you next one. And definitely hit that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content.